Hello, adventurers. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Richard.
On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the changes to cantrips from the most recently released Unearthed Arcana. Welcome to True Strike.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. On today's episode, we are diving back into the new released Unearthed Arcana number 8 that featured bastions. And now we're talking about cantrips because
the better part.
We got into bastions so deep that we forgot that the cantrip part existed. And we just kept going. So
we did just keep going.
We decided to then move on to cantrips and have it be its own episode because there's some really cool stuff in here.
Yeah, cool stuff, bad stuff, fun stuff, sad stuff. We'll get through all of it. So, top level. How have you been, Richard?
Good. Super great. I don't want that. Like, I almost started ranting about bastions again.
No!
Just to reel it back in. It's so...
This man needs stopped.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah. Like, I legitimately was about to start talking about it again.
What happened? What did bastions do to you?
It's just, I have feelings, and I gotta get them out of there.
You did. You got them out for an hour.
Big feelings.
Last week.
Big feelings.
Okay. Well, let's get through some more big feelings today, because I've got some big feelings about some of these cantrips.
That's what I was hoping, because last time I ranted about bastions for an hour. This is your turn to rant about cantrips for an hour.
There won't... I don't... I can't say it. There won't be. I don't think there will necessarily be an hour-long rant, but we'll see, I guess. Do you want to... Well, you know what? I'll take the lead on this. First off...
Yeah, this is your game.
I'm going to run through this in the order that... Which I believe is alphabetical order, which is the way they have them listed.
That's how they always do it.
I'm going to first tell you the original... No, that sounds silly. No. I'm going to tell you the new version.
You do
I'll just
how
tell you
you
what
want to do.
Yeah. You know what? This is our show.
What feels natural to
I don't have to do
you.
anything unless I want to do it. That's right. So, Acid Splash.
Talking about Acid Splash.
All right. So, the way they've got Acid Splash going on right now, we're talking one action, range 60 feet. You create an acidic bubble and you hurl it at a point within range where it explodes in a 5-foot radius sphere. Each creature in that sphere must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take 1d6 acid damage. Richard, do you realize what's changed about this cantrip?
It's an AoE now?
Ooh, yes. Because originally it was 1 or 2. And the wording of that is just weird, especially for early level adventurers. And you're like, cool, 1 or 2. Why is this not just an AoE? And, it is now. Which is it just makes sense. It just feels easier to me to say that.
Did they increase the damage on this at all? Or is it the same damage up? But I can't remember.
So it was 1d6 originally.
Okay.
And now it's 1d6 currently.
Oh, okay.
So
nice.
Yeah, so damage there is the same. And it scales the same way it used to before. The big change here is that it's, before it was if you were to target 2 people, they had to be within 5 foot of each other. Now you can hit more than 2 people.
I mean, so it's arguably an improvement.
Yes.
Yeah, because now you could hit a bunch.
There's an asterisk on my feelings for this, though.
Oh.
I will remember. I'm going to put a little pin right here. Boop. Acid Splash, little pinned up right here.
Oh, it's not an opinion right now.
No.
It's an opinion later.
This is a later opinion.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to come back to this.
Okay. I can't see the negative to this. Yet.
It's not necessarily a negative.
Okay. I'm just saying, I'm seeing good things here.
I'm going to call it a big feeling.
Oh, no.
Next, we're down the list alphabetically. We've got Blade Ward. This one, I want to get your hot. I don't know how much of these have you read through.
I'm going on.
This is hot takes.
This is hot takes.
Okay, wonderful. Because I want your hot take on this. Blade Ward. It is a casting time reaction, which you take in response to a visible creature targeting you with a melee attack. Okay, so now Blade Ward is when someone comes at you, a visible creature with a melee attack. You trace a sigil of warding, imposing disadvantage on the creature's attack roll against you. Hot take. What do you think?
That sounds amazing.
Do you know what's changed?
Well, it wasn't a reaction before.
So,
and
correct.
It also just wasn't straight disadvantage, wasn't it? It was a spell you cast before, but was it always just straight disadvantage?
It was an action you cast on your turn,
mm-hmm.
and for the next round, you had resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks.
Yes, which is not great. Because
it's something.
It's something, but the few times that I have cast Blade Ward, like when I saw it on paper, I was like, oh, this is great. And then in practice, I was like, oh, this is garbage. I wasted my turn.
That's the thing. You're spending your turn cowarding. I mean, you could take the dodge action, impose disadvantage if you're going to spend your whole action anyway. This is just, I'm probably going to get hit, but at least it'll be half damage if it's a weapon attack.
Yeah, which is, like I said, when I took it before, it seemed like it was something that it sounded okay, but then in practice, it just felt bad.
Yeah.
This feels really good because it is a reaction, and it just feels like something that like my bard could have used very recently and would have enjoyed, and that like a warlock or a wizard, that's super great. I mean, wizard is already squidgy. And if you can impose disadvantage as a reaction,
yeah.
What else are you using your reaction for?
Now,
unless you're a warcaster, right?
So I've got two parts to this, right? That's the thing. The balance of this is because people are like, well, why aren't they just going to use this every round? Well, what about their reaction? They don't want to give up their reaction.
Yeah.
They could use that on other things. 95% of the time, I feel like a caster primarily is going to be like, screw waiting to see what else happens and maybe get an opportunity attack. I mean,
oh no,
like, no, I want to impose disadvantage because this could make me live.
Yeah, this is the difference between my head being caved in.
I'm gonna use this every time. And granted, it's one attack, so this is more helpful in early levels where enemies probably don't have multi-attack. But even if they do have multi-attack, maybe now they miss you with one of the two. That's still half the attacks you were gonna take. This is very powerful. Not saying broken, just saying powerful. And in fact, there's one thing I wish they would buff about it.
Oh, you want a buff to this?
At this point, just let it, with the design language of how they're changing things for this 2024 edition, keep on the same path you're going, make everything, fit the same mold down the road. This is something, I'm coming at your character with a melee weapon attack. Before I make a roll, you do this blade ward, which I guess, thematically makes sense.
Yeah.
But why not? And because I feel like most players or tables are going to run like this anyway, why is this not something you do after you know if the attack misses or hits? Because if I come at you and I miss, then you waste your reaction.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
But if I come at you and I hit, and they're like, wait, blade ward. And I'm like, oh, now I got to roll again. That's like the silvery barbs of things, which, like I said, after it hits or misses, you can make those decisions. And there are other spells and stuff like that where after you know the result, you can choose. And this feels like 2014 mentality of, nah, you got to commit. You got to commit.
Commit to the bit.
Yep.
Do you think that makes it too powerful, though?
At this point, what's it matter? Because they're going to do it anyway.
That's true. I mean,
they're just wasting a reaction, which isn't fun.
It kind of goes both ways. Because, I mean, like, I can see, being a warcaster. Like,
how many people are warcasters,
that's
though,
the thing, is that, like, do I want to mitigate that damage, or do I want to nuke somebody in response?
If they choose to leave your range.
Yeah, I see.
And they're coming in with to melee a spellcaster.
True.
Are they going to leave? Especially the DM. I don't know.
Are you turning this into the new Stunning Strike, though? Where you feel like you have to do it, you have to take it, and you have to make that move every single turn?
I think as it stands right now, yes. I feel like you do have to. Every time someone's going to come in to melee you, I think someone's going to do it. It's very good for like a first tier cantrip. It's very good. I don't see why any spellcaster would not take this.
Oh no, it's like a must onto a spell slot now, like into your cantrips. There's no reason not to take this at least I don't see there's no reason not to.
Yeah, I absolutely. In fact, like I said, just to keep it with the design language familiar, I would change it to where after you know the result.
Want to make
But
it
maybe
better.
that's me. It's that's how people are gonna run it anyway. Because if one of my players, the wizard in our Strahd game, were to be like, "Oh wait, that hits," and I'm like, "Yeah," they're like, "Blade Ward though." I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, you should have said it sooner."
Those are old school guidance rules, too.
Yeah.
Well, you got guidance. I'm casting guidance.
Yeah, no, my guidance rule is, that has components that people will see you do, right?
Yeah.
That's my guidance rule of being like, yeah, go ahead. Someone nearby you might see you do that though. Yeah, totally. And similar thing with this, but this you're in combat.
Yeah. Sure.
So it's
all right. Fair
as
enough.
someone's coming down, that blade is about to strike you. You do this sigil in like the air really quick, and that imposes the disadvantage. This like flash in their eyes or something as they come down to strike you, and then they miss a strike that you knew would have hit you. I love that.
So you're gonna suggest that in the
you're
survey?
coming at me out the get go, and then now you've got 2 chances to hit me. Like, yeah, that would actually be my suggestion.
Okay.
I do like the spell. I absolutely see where some people are gonna say this is too strong because it's a big buff. And I think it will become a very important part of most spellcasters' toolkits.
It's interesting because, like I said, it's one of those spells that like I did take at one point,
Yeah,
and then
it
realized
sounds cool.
was garbage, and
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like Blade Ward, never gonna take it again. Now it is like an essential kit if it stays in this form.
The fact, I mean, even if it was reaction before, it would have been amazing.
Yeah,
even half damage, amazing. But I like it. I don't have anything negative to say other than I would actually change that, and then maybe it's a tad strong, but I don't think that's bad
I think they're gonna change it.
because even then,
I think they're gonna walk this one back slightly or somehow,
I don't think they will.
because it seems like I think it's a step too far, because you've gone from something that nobody's ever going to use to something that everybody now feels obligated to use.
And even with that, I bet it still stays.
And we'll see.
It's poor man's silvery barbs for sure, because the cantrip.
Everybody loves silvery barbs,
But you're, like I said, it'll matter less, especially in higher play, when monster you as a caster, you probably have low AC, and these monsters enemies have higher bonuses to hit you.
yeah.
So even with disadvantage, they're still probably going to hit you. And at that point, you are losing your reaction.
I just proved myself wrong anyway, just by bringing up silvery barbs, because that exists in the game, and it's
significantly better.
Significantly better. So no, this is gonna stay. Yeah, because silvery barbs exist.
Yeah.
And in a world where silvery barbs can be,
which does use a spell slot,
Blade Ward can be here. Yeah, but still,
it's so good.
Yeah,
from a range,
but
other
still,
person.
silvery barb is insane.
You got a crit? Nope.
Yeah.
Also,
so
I have advantage now.
the
or he
fact
has advantage
that
now.
works and that's in the game, they're gonna keep this. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
I give up.
Now they have. You know what? Do you want me to just keep narrating this whole episode?
Oh yeah, no, I love this.
Perfect.
This is great.
So I didn't want to get too far ahead of this.
This was last week with me talking at you about Bastion.
It was wonderful.
Fervently for 45 minutes.
It was great. This one hurts my heart to even say though. Like, because this is my favorite cantrip in the game.
I was about to say, like, I was curious what you were going to say about this one
cantrip.
Because you have talked about this cantrip so much.
I've loved it.
And you love this spell so much. Tell me how they hurt you.
Oh man, they hurt me. And I get it. I get it, but it still hurts. Chill touch. It's an action to cast. Range touch.
Yeah, chill touch.
Yeah. Freaking nerds.
This wasn't just chill arrow.
You couldn't just be cool with the fact that like it was neither.
This wasn't chill throw a rock.
It was
at
neither
someone.
cold nor touch. But I like the fact that it was terrible. Like it didn't make any sense at all. It was wonderful. And the way it is now, it is touch. You challenge the chill of the grave towards one creature you try to touch. Probably without consent, which is a problem. But in this case, it's part of the game. Make a melee spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d10, which is a buff, necrotic damage, and it can't regain hit points to the end of your next turn. You also notice a couple things. It is touch now instead of range. The range before was 120 feet, Richard.
Yes.
120 feet
Some might say excessive.
to 5 feet, like to melee, like to touch. Crazy, right? You also lose the, while rarely activated, still there and present, ability where if you hit an undead target, it has advantage on attack rolls against you until the end of your next turn, making it even better. That's just a little extra. Granted, D8 to D10. Tiny buff.
A tiny buff.
Tiny buff. Massive range nerf. Just so that it would be touch, like the name says. And while they were at it, they were like, let's get rid of that extra text about the undead thing too. No one uses that.
Nobody uses that.
And that, you know what? Whatever. I'll forgive them on that one. They wanted to bring in chill touch because it was too good. 120 feet was so fun.
Yeah, but like you said, you kind of got to understand it. Because chill touch on surface level does not sound overpowered until you're in a campaign or you're in a situation where something is constantly regenerating hit points.
Yeah, now you gotta have to get up next to it.
And to be able to do that from across the map, that's pretty powerful for a
safe.
cantrip.
And you know how many players actually remembered you could do that?
For a cantrip.
Not a whole bunch. A lot of people would forget. It's just like the extra cool ability part of it. Now you have to get within touching distance. Not even 30 feet.
Yeah, you're doing an extra 2 damage.
And these are like trolls and hags and things that do like the healing, like, and you're like, hello. Boop.
And yeah, what are they going to do? Hit you back?
Yes.
Blade Ward. It's fine.
Yeah. Do they have a weapon?
It's fine. A troll without a weapon? Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
okay. All right. Now look at this. Let's take it back a little bit. You know what else is 120 foot range and has a 1d10 damage dice? Firebolt.
Okay. So
now you have to get within melee range to do necrotic damage instead of fire damage. So, you know, it is what it is in the situation. And you stop their healing. That's what you're in, you know, smacking distance for.
Yeah. What if we compromise it? So what if they change it to half the previous? So like 60
60
feet.
would be great.
Okay.
I'd be totally fine with 60.
All right, we're going to make it 60 feet.
I'd be okay with 30 feet.
30 feet. We're giving a lot here. So we'll say 30 feet is what we're all going to put in the survey. Okay? 30 feet, 30.
I'm okay with 30 feet.
I think 30 feet is good, actually. I think 60 is probably pretty far. 120 feet is insane.
120.
That is insanity.
Like,
that is for chill touch.
Yeah.
Right? That is insanity. 30 feet is very utilitarian. Like, I think that still is a very good spell at 30 feet.
Just call it Ghastly Grip.
And, ooh, that even sounds better than chill touch.
As the skeletal hand reaches around your throat.
I'm putting that in the
grip.
survey too.
Ghastly Grip.
Ghastly
30
grip,
feet.
30 feet. Yeah. I like it.
1d20 damage. I mean, hey,
Stop.
keep asking for more. More. Come on, food. Just fill me up. All right. Next, we're looking at Friends, which I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. I like this change a lot, Richard. I like this a lot.
All right. I'm going to be honest. I don't remember what Friends actually did.
All right, well, here we go. It's very similar to this. Let's see if you pick up on the difference.
Okay.
Friends, casting time action, range 10 feet, concentration up a minute. You magically emanate a sense of friendship towards one visible creature within range. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or have the charm condition for the duration. The target succeeds automatically if it isn't humanoid, if you're fighting it, or if you have cast a spell on it within the past 24 hours. The spell ends early if the target takes damage, or if you make an attack roll, deal damage, or force anyone to make a saving throw.
Okay, so my first question here.
Yep.
This is just casting charm.
This is a cantrip.
That is just casting charm.
It's the charmed condition.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that they can attack you. and they
Because
just
charm-
generally treat you as like somebody who they're comfortable around.
I'll say, because I believe you're speaking of charm person, right?
Yes.
Which is a spell, actual spell slot. This being a cantrip.
What's the distance on charmed person?
Charm person is 30 feet.
It's 30 feet.
Yes.
Okay, so this is closer, and
Yep.
it just gives you the charmed condition.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, basically you nailed it. It lubes somebody up for easier like social engagement, and you're like walking into the basically you walk up, you like start a conversation, you turn around, you put on a little mitt lipstick, and you turn around, and they're like, oh, the sparkle of the moonlight does
I mean, some makeup is
reflect
one of the
off
components.
your
Right on.
lipstick a little bit. I like that about you. You need a little twinkle. Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Did you pick up on the big differences here though between this and the original?
No.
All right, let me read you the original. One action, range self, concentration up to 1 minute. For the duration, you have advantage on all charisma checks directed at one creature of your choice that isn't hostile towards you. When the spell ends, the creature realizes that you use magic to influence its mood and becomes hostile towards you.
Okay. So, yes, and now I remember why I really didn't like Friends all that
Right.
much. And that's because it's one of those weird things where you have to be incredibly situationally aware of the kind of checks your DM is going to ask for.
Yep.
Because if I'm like, I'm going to cast Friends, and you have to, at this
Yep.
point, give me a charisma check.
Right.
And if you don't, I'm just wasting my time
You
here.
have 60 seconds.
And you're all like, all right, I need you to make me an athletics check to impress this person.
Yeah.
But can I do that charismatically?
It's the fact that you had to be within touching distance before.
Mhm.
Now it's 10 feet. I can blow you a kiss from across the bar.
Yeah.
And
It puts more into the player's like lap.
so now you have this, they have a saving throw they have to make, or
Yeah.
their, charm condition. But succeed or fail, or when it runs out, they don't, unless they caught you do the components, they don't know you did anything.
Yeah.
They are no longer aggressive towards you after 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Which I never want to use that spell if like, all right, we're pretty good with each other, but in about a minute, you're going to be real upset
You're
with
gonna
me.
be super upset when you realize
Yeah.
what I've done. I got to get out of here.
And I like the 10 minutes. That's neat too. You can do it from a distance and know whether your spell took effect before you engage.
Okay.
And like I said, it's just a cantrip, and you don't got to. This isn't going to end the bar date in a fight.
Okay. I like it.
It doesn't feel broken. It feels
Yeah.
like you can actually use this now without concern that you're about to start a rumble. Okay. Poison spray. Action for your casting time, range 30 feet. You launch a mist of toxic energy at a creature within range, so 30 feet. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d12 poison damage.
I like this
You do you?
a lot.
But
No, but I just really like this. And before you touch the pin, the reason
I'm already
why I
touching it.
like this
I'm on the pen.
is because I have a dislike for things that are saving throws.
Mm-hmm.
I like making attack rolls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like imposing saving throws onto something, and that's the change here, right?
Yes.
We're moving away from a saving throw to an attack roll, and also increasing the distance.
Yep.
So the
It was
distance
10
of
feet
it.
before, now it's 30
And now
feet.
it's 30 feet.
Right.
And just even if they just kept it as 10 feet, the mere change of the saving throw to an actual roll that you're making an attack roll,
Uh-huh.
I like that. I like it a lot.
Let me. Can I touch the pen?
Yes.
I
Now you can
remove
touch
the
the
pen.
pen.
I remove the pen. Okay. Why are these not flipped? You launch a mist of toxic energy at a creature. Why is that not a... It could say the same damage. Why is that not a Constitution saving throw? Because I'm launching a mist at you, right?
A
Are you
mist.
inhaling it?
You're
Are you trying
inhaling.
to avoid the mist, get the stuff off of you, etc., right? Whereas the
Acidic
acid
bubble.
splash
Yeah.
is you create an acidic bubble that you hurl at
Okay.
somebody. Why is that not? It could even be against everybody in range. You could have to make separate attack rolls. Or it
So-
could be like Baby Ice Knife,
Well, no, that
where
means
the original target
we're
makes the
just
roll.
changing we're just changing the names and the descriptions.
Sure.
We're just flip flopping those.
Right.
That's
But it's
everything else stays the same. We're gonna call it acid spray and poison splash.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's my pin. Because why were these not flipped? I want to make attack rolls against the target I'm hurling acid at.
Yeah.
And for the ones trying not to inhale my poison, I would like them to make the con saving throw.
A very specific note for this survey. I'm gonna,
you're feeling it right now.
Yes. I'm gonna make a very specific note that we need to change the descriptions on these. We need to flip flop them.
Just flip them.
Yeah, just flip
That's
the descriptions.
That's all
Everything else can stay the same.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I like both
the
of
range
those
and the
spells.
damage.
Yes, I like them both. But now it's going to bug me
Yeah.
that you just pointed that out.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it before.
Especially like acid splash. It's interesting. It's like, oh well, it's only 1d6 damage. Yeah, but if you hit 2, that's basically 2d6 damage.
Yeah.
What if you hit 3? 3d6 damage? Like it puddles up, and you're hitting more people in this range.
You're hitting more
with clever. And granted, this is probably going to be better for people on battle maps, or at least people with fun DMs that are like, oh, how many can I hit with this? And they're like, okay, well, just where everybody is in the way I just described. You could probably hit 3 of them if you really position this right. That's awesome. That's so fun. And yeah, it's only a d6, but that's great. You've severely imaged potentially like 3 lower level enemies. And that's getting back to acid splash. And that was my pin. That was my whole asterisk and everything on that.
Okay.
I just want those to be flipped because it bothers me a lot.
Okay. No, I get that. Like that's probably, I think it's an easy fix.
Yeah.
That just makes more sense.
One big thing about poison spray, it levels with you pretty well.
Oh yes. Yeah.
At 5th level, 11th level, and 17th level. For each one of those, you're adding an additional D12.
Yeah.
So even at 17th level, 4D12 for a cantrip. Pretty cool.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm into it. And Acid Splash is very similar. Same levels, you're gaining an extra D6. So in the same level progression, it's going with you. So let's just change. Let's change.
Flip it.
Yep. Let's change this up just a little bit. One cantrip that I definitely like better now is Produce Flame. Again, I spoiled my feelings. It is range self. It lasts for 10 minutes. You create a flickering flame in your hand, and it remains there for the duration. While there, the flame emits no heat and ignites nothing, and it sheds a bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light for an additional 20 feet. That's awesome. You're holding this flame, like walking around these dark caves, and for 40 feet, you're shedding light.
Yeah.
Even if dim light for the last 20 feet radius of that's amazing. And I say 40 feet, 40-foot radius. Like, wow, it's awesome. The spell ends if you dismiss it as a bonus action or if you cast it again. And until the spell ends, you can take the magic action. So take your action now to hurl the fire at a creature or an object within 60 feet of you, so 60-foot range. You make a ranged spell attack. On hit, the target takes 1d8 fire damage. That's pretty neat. Is it a 1d10 or go as far as Firebolt? No. However, it's a bonus action to prep this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already there, ready to go. And I just like the idea that as you're, granted, as an action, you could just cast Firebolt. But if you were just walking around
and you've already got it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's fun to me. It does good damage, and it's shedding light. I like it.
This is just a really good utility spell because you're doing 2 different things. So like you say, you're, as a bonus action, you're bringing it out. You're walking through the cave, producing light. It's not costing you any, like materials as far as a torch is considered. It's not costing you, a spell slot.
Right.
And then if you need to throw it, you are going to throw it and you're possibly going to do some damage. Is it going to be bolt damage? No. Fireball damage? No. It's going to be something though. 1d8 is nothing, to laugh at as far as fire damage is considered.
Right.
So yeah, it's just a really neat utility spell. And it already was neat.
Yeah.
So I just think this is even better.
In the original version, it was only 10-foot radius of dim in additional, or of bright light and an additional 10 dim light. So if we're talking using this as a makeshift like magical torch,
Mm-hmm.
significant improvement when it comes to something like that. We're
Yeah.
talking 20-foot radius total versus 40. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
No, I like it. It's good.
Yeah. Man, the range for attacking doubled too. It went from 30 to 60. I'm big into it. Simple change, but good change. Well, speaking of simple changes, have you checked out Shillelagh?
That's the one that I was just looking at because I love Shillelagh. Like already as a cantrip,
Yeah.
I use Shillelagh
Yeah.
on one of my main characters. Every time we get into a fight, like every time Fitch uses Shillelagh because it's just fun.
Karis used Shillelagh too until his untimely passing.
Until his untimely passing. Yeah, I like Shillelagh currently. So what are we getting new here?
All right, I'm going to see if you pick it up. I'm just going to read it and see if you pick it up.
Ah,
A club. All right. Bonus action, range touch.
sure.
Lasts for a minute. A club or quarterstaff you are holding is imbued with nature's power. For the duration, you can use your spellcasting ability instead of strength for the attack and damage roll of melee attacks using that weapon.
Mhm.
And the weapon's damage die becomes a d8.
Yep.
If the attack deals damage, it can be force damage or the weapon's normal damage type, your choice. The spell ends early if you cast it again or let go of the weapon.
Okay, so force damage.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yes.
That's nice. Which we didn't get that before.
No. Before it was just the weapon's damage die.
So nothing else has changed though.
No,
D8,
one other.
So we're still there.
One other big thing
More force
changed.
damage. Let's see here.
It's in the first couple words.
Okay, so for the duration, use your spell casting ability instead of your strength for the attack and damage rolls.
Uh-huh.
What am I missing here?
Think druid.
Think druid.
Yep. I'm gonna help you out.
Oh,
I'm
man.
basically just gonna give it to you.
I'm missing it.
Here's the original first few words. The wood of a club or quarterstaff you are holding is imbued with nature's power. Your weapon no longer has to be made of wood.
Oh,
that was very limiting with druids before.
Was a thing.
Yes, you had to very specifically use wooden weapons and shields. And now with this, I'm wondering if druids will be able to use metal shields or if they'll still stick that with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It gives completely glossed over that because it's such a
the ability
small
to use
change.
more things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. I like it. Not saying like it wasn't thematic before that the druid would use nature's weapons and things like that, which you could still definitely do, but player choice.
Yeah. More player agency. And like I said, Shillelagh also just is a great spell. Love it. One of my favorite spells.
Yeah.
Glad to see it getting a little bit of love.
All right, we're getting towards the end here. Only got a couple left. This is one. All right. Shocking Grasp. Casting time action. Range touch. Duration instantaneous. Lightning springs from your hand to deliver a shock to a creature you are trying to touch. Make a melee spell against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 lightning damage, and it can't make opportunity attacks until the start of its next turn.
Okay.
Do you know what changed here?
So it already did that, correct?
It did something better. So the two things that changed here are if the enemy was wearing armor made of metal, you had advantage on the roll against them. That's gone. So, all right, it's already been potentially nerfed a bit because lots of enemies wear metal armor. The big one here, and the one that really, really drops this spell because it's not an incredibly strong spell to begin with. But now, originally, if hit, the target could not take reactions until the start of its next turn.
Okay.
Currently, the target can't make opportunity attacks until the start of its next turn.
So it could still take a reaction.
Any other reaction other than opportunity attacks.
Yeah.
This change, I think, was done because of characters like Vecna. And basically, some creatures have gained the ability to... Let me see if I can pull it up right here. Vecna, for example, can take up to 3 reactions per round, but only 1 per turn.
Oh, okay.
Things like Dread Counterspell. If they see you casting a spell, he can use his reaction to counterspell you, just as a reaction. Or Fell Rebuke. In response to being hit by an attack, Vecna utters a fell word, dealing 3d6 necrotic damage to the attacker, and Vecna teleports along with any equipment he is wearing or carrying up to 30 feet.
So Shocking Grasp was a shutdown spell major before
It
then.
and let's, because Vecna, this is one of the more recent, changes, changes and more updated, like, monsters to Dungeons and Dragons. Is this design philosophy going forward? And if so, are creatures going to have more legendary reactions instead of legendary actions? Because in one way, it's okay, at the end of your turn, this enemy's going to do this. One is, all right, in response to your action, the enemy's going to do this.
Yes.
Which I think actually makes combat feel a little more chaotic in a fun way.
No, in a good way, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So in one way, this makes sense. It's changing the spell to a way that doesn't limit a legendary creature from having a big chunk of their toolkit stripped from them, and still lets you to, prevent opportunity attacks. But on another side of things, it's significantly weakened this cantrip.
Yes, weakened for sure, but I think it's weakened in the right way. Because I think it's still serving its original intended purpose, right? Which is like, okay, I'm a wizard.
Yeah.
You're on top of me. I'm going to Shocking Grasp you,
Yeah.
and then get out of dodge.
Right.
Like, I'm going to walk away now, and you're not going to be able to do that. And I think that maybe power creep had made Shocking Grasp too good.
Unintentionally.
I
can't say I disagree with you.
Yeah.
I hate to see it. Like, I hate to see it brought down. I mean, even like they even took away the metal armor thing. Like, was that necessary?
Yeah, that seems kind of a weird thing to take away, just because like it's very flavorful.
Yeah,
right.
And
it's just neat.
Okay, it's just advantage.
And it's just a little bit of extra damage. Yeah.
I mean,
so insignificant and takes away from the flavor. I think that's a misstep. I think they should add that back in and take it further. Like if they're wet or if they're standing in water or something like that.
Maybe people were crit fishing with it.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it would be that big of a deal.
I'm just trying to think. All right, so like Chill Touch. Oh no, because Chill Touch got buffed up.
Yeah. I think it's just like, I think they were just trying to simplify it, and I think they oversimplified it and took away a little bit of the flavor.
And I'm okay with them like simplifying some of these spells, but yeah,
at the expense of flavor though.
Yeah,
I think that's the misstep. But
I would still give you advantage in my games if I were running this. Kind of thing.
No, and it makes sense, and it's not like it's overpowered to do that. Like I think that's fine.
I'm just imagining I do think Link from Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah,
just like your armor's like you're like
oh. No, I do think though that like unintentional power creep is really why they had to do this, because I think this spell was getting to a point where it was probably way more effective than they ever intended it to be.
Yeah.
And this is how they fix it, and doesn't take away from what it's supposed to do, which is supposed to give you a kind of a get out of jail free card.
I mean, yeah, I just imagine, Vecna specifically, there's their example. They were watching like a fight and playtesting and everything. And they're like, yeah, this fight's going great.
Yeah.
These legendary reactions are doing awesome. And what'd that bard just do?
Yeah. Wait. Oh.
He just shut down all legendary abilities for the next turn?
It seems a bit excessive.
That's a bit. What level spell was that? Was a cantrip? Like.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's just unintentional.
Yeah.
So I think I'm okay with this.
I'm not happy with it.
I think I'm okay with this. I really don't like the takeaway of the flavor part, because I'm huge when it comes to flavor, and I think that was unnecessary.
It just feels like you kicked them all down. That
was just mean.
Yeah.
Stop with that bag. Mean. With that bag.
Get in the surveys.
Yeah.
Couple left.
Yep.
Spare the dying.
I love this spell.
I've always loved this cantrip.
I love this cantrip.
Yeah.
I already can see what the change on this one is.
Oh, this one's easy.
I just
because nothing else really changed.
Yeah.
Range, 15
15
feet.
feet.
Casting time action. Choose a creature within range that has 0 hit points, yet is alive. The creature becomes stable.
So,
Yeah.
hot take. I don't like it.
Interesting.
And it comes back to that whole flavor thing. I'm a stickler for flavor. And when I think something takes away from the flavor, it makes me dislike something a little bit more. And I have always seen Spare the Dying. My visual, like you say, Spare the Dying, my visual is somebody kneeling next to somebody and
sliding up like on their knees.
Yeah, exactly. And putting a hand on.
Yeah.
And like, don't go to the light, brother.
Yeah. Instead of looking at them and just like,
instead of just being like, oh, pink.
Got you.
Got
That's
you.
what I look at Healing Word for that.
Exactly.
For
yeah, that's and Healing Word. That's
yeah.
what I see. Like when I see Healing Word in my mind, that's exactly what I see.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're down, get up.
Yeah.
And when you say Spare the Dying to me, I have a very different visual for it, and it is not a 15 foot away, and it is a being right there next to somebody and stabilizing them. And 15 foot, it takes away from that vision. Is it better? Obviously, this is a huge buff for Spare the Dying.
There's also one more buff that we haven't gone over. The original Spare the Dying had no effect on undead or constructs. The new version does not mention that.
Doesn't mention that at all.
Not at all.
Just glosses over it completely.
Yep. Entirely. Also, did you notice that the spell's range doubles? 30 feet at level 5.
So yeah, I was like,
60 feet at 11.
When you just said the thing about
17.
construct, I started reading more, and I was all like, 30 feet, 60 feet, 120
yeah,
feet.
You start to hate it more, right?
I start to hate it more. Yeah. It's a super buff for this spell, which I already liked Spare the Dying. I thought it was really great. I don't like it. I don't like it. I want it to be touch.
All right. If you were to change this, can we agree that they keep the undead and constructs?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm fine with that. Especially because as they start introducing more player species and classes and stuff like that, I don't want the reborn or the like robot man to be unaffected. Like, please help. You're like,
please
sorry,
help. Sorry about
your
your luck.
metal.
Do I look like a watchmaker?
Yeah.
I got nothing for you.
I like the fact that your DD will intervene and make it happen no matter what. How would you fix it? How would you buff Spare the Dying then?
That's a really,
or would you leave it as is?
That's a really tough one because I think that it is good already, even being touch.
There's one thing I would do for sure.
The only thing that I would do would maybe take away the 0 hit points and stable, and instead,
how you figure?
Like, well, no, like actually bringing somebody back.
Oh, like to 1?
Like 1 hit point.
That's too far for me.
And that would be the only thing that I would say, but still a touch. You're still right there. You have no range on it. And that's pushing it. You said, what would I do if I were to change Spare the Dying? That's what I would do if I were to change Spare the Dying.
Yeah.
What would I do with Spare the Dying right now? Just smack this off the list and go back to the way that it was. Don't increase the range. I don't want the range. I want Spare the Dying the way that it was. I think it was fine.
There's one thing I would do.
I don't think it needed an upgrade. Somebody did, obviously. But
that
thematically,
means they're not seeing enough people use it.
Thematically, I like it.
All of these spells are underused.
Underused spells, yeah.
I would, and some people are going to be like, that's broken. And I argue how. You'll probably tell me how. But how? I would keep the construct saying whatever, leave that off, just whatever. Touch, bonus action.
Oh. No, I don't think it's overpowered at all. I like it.
I love it.
Oh, I love that.
You still have to get close. You smack them, and they stop dying.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
You were an effective teammate. You allocated one of your precious spells and cantrips to be this, to be a team player, home base, and you still get an action.
Yeah.
Obviously, you aren't able to heal them that turn. If you were able to cure wounds or Healing Word, you would have already done that with your action or your bonus action. You would have Healing Word from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
But if all you can do is slide in and keep them alive, stabilize them, and then take your action and either perform the dodge action even and just like take a defensive stance with your shield in front of them, or take a swing with the sword or your mace at someone nearby, or cast a leveled spell to damage someone else near you after you. It's just so thematic and
that
fun.
is excellent.
I love it.
And the weirdest thing, like, I think this is like our hottest take ever.
For Spare
the Dying, of all the cantrips and all the spells in this game,
right?
This is one of our hottest takes, I think.
It's a spell I've used,
and I think it's so good. Not to toot your horn here or anything. That's like the chef's kiss. Like, that right there is how you make Spare the Dying next level. It was already good. Now it's like, there, it's really good. I think that's excellent. I think get rid of this range.
Yeah,
junk.
we don't need the range.
We don't need that range.
No.
Get rid of the range junk. Make it a bonus action touch.
Yeah.
It doesn't get rid of my whole visual. In fact, it takes it up thematically to like level 10 because your bonus action and then doing your act. Oh, that's great. That is super cool. Yeah, I think that's excellent. I don't like this version of Spare the Dying.
I don't either.
I don't care that it's a buff. I don't like it.
Get in the surveys.
Don't like it. You like it? I don't like it.
Speaking of buffs and things we don't like that we should like. True Strike.
True Strike. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, well, I was hoping it wouldn't.
We knew
I was
that they were
hoping
going to
it
look
would
at this
be
spell.
a joke spell forever.
Because underused spells, joke spells, True Strike is that yeah.
Commonly rated as the worst spell in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
There's a reason the podcast, like bad podcast, bad spell is the whole thing. They've made it very good. It's I'm gonna start with the original. The original cantrip, as is right now for True Strike. Range 30 feet. You point a finger at a target in range. Your magic grants you a brief insight to the target's defenses. On your next turn, you gain advantage on your first attack roll against the target, provided the spell hasn't ended, because it's concentration. So if you point at someone and you're like,
"Are you thinking about attacking me?
Coming after you next turn.
Are you thinking about attacking me? Because I'm going to bonk you if you are."
I'm bonk you. And if they bonk you first and you lose your concentration, you wasted your whole turn. It's ridiculous. It was terrible because guess what? How math works. If you were to hit them that turn and then on your next turn, hit them again, you still rolled twice.
Yeah, you still rolled twice.
You just now could have potentially hit them
2 times instead of 1. And it's not like True Strike in its original form was like, I am definitely going to hit you next turn. No, it was just like the extra bit of potential to maybe hit you next turn.
And potential to have gotten hit and
potential to get hit and lose everything and just waste your entire turn.
Yep.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's real.
There's
real bad.
no positive way to spin True Strike in its current form.
They didn't. They completely reworked the whole thing. They just they kept the name. It's action, range self. Components include as part of your material, a weapon of which you are proficient with. That's important.
Yes.
Guided by a flash of magical insight, you make one attack with a weapon used in the spell's casting, so a weapon you're proficient with. The attack uses your spell casting ability for the attack and damage rolls instead of using strength or dex. If the attack deals damage, it can be radiant or the weapon's normal damage, your choice. At higher levels, regardless of whether you did normal or radiant, at levels 5, 11, and 17, you deal an additional 1d6, 2d6, or 3d6 respectively. That extra damage is radiant, regardless of
radiant.
Yeah. So this is a spell that not only does damage, but it levels with you, and it makes it to where a wizard and a barbarian not raging could theoretically do the same amount of damage on a strike. One using pure muscle and the other using arcane knowledge to guide their blade. Because you're both coming down with your +3 modifiers with the same damage die for the weapon. And if the barbarian's not getting the bonuses from rage and things like that, they're not getting that little extra. This is further like making it to where like our martial classes have even less going for them. The wizard can do it too.
The only spin that you can put on that would be that. So bards, yeah, they're not. We're gonna pretend like they don't exist for this part of the conversation.
Bards are my favorite. I wish just bards got this.
Sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards. That component thing that you said, weapon with you have proficiency. So really, that's the only limiting factor
Daggers.
here, is that we're talking about daggers and sticks. Bards, a little bit different, right? Because bards are more likely to have a better weapon proficiency available to them. So bards will benefit from this spell a little bit more than your average sorcerer, warlock, or wizard, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's my vision on it. It's a really good spell now. Like, really good.
Back to Blade Ward. This is one of those spells that I think is just something you have to take.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take it,
because if someone gets within striking distance
that's
of
the
you,
thing. Yeah, is that you're depending on striking distance. So things are already going poorly for you right now.
100%. You're not gonna rush in for the most part.
I mean, it depends on what kind of wizard you're playing.
Wizards and
what kind of wizard is that?
Yeah,
a stabbing one.
True strike. You're probably not gonna do that, right? And there's no multi-class for this and things like that. But if someone is within stabbing distance, you can do so, and you can do so quite effectively.
Yes, no, I mean that is really, really good. It has gone from, again, a spell that would not be on a list anywhere to a spell that's kind of almost a staple take. Because if you have the free cantrip slot, why wouldn't you take this as a just in case? Because I mean, like, yeah, ideally you don't want to be in combat. You don't want to have to stab something as a wizard.
No,
but
you want to avoid that as much as possible.
You want to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah,
but
good.
If you happen to have somebody roll up on you, wouldn't you like to be able to actually stab them effectively and not just waste your turn? I mean, yeah.
Look, we're sounding pretty high on this spell, but for entirely selfish reasons, we need them to bring it back down.
You bring it back down.
Because the joke doesn't land when the spell is too good.
Yeah.
So just zeros across the board for this one, right?
Yep.
We want it back how it was. If anything, make it worse.
True Strike was too good. We got to take it back down.
It needs to be a level 1 spell to get advantage on your next action, your next attack.
Yeah, this is really good, and it's going to do really well in the survey.
Yeah, it's good.
People are going to like do really, really well. People are going to like it because
this and Blade Ward go real well together.
Oh yeah,
too.
taking these two together is opening up like real possibilities for survivability and not being useless.
Attack, defend, attack,
defend. in a couple of rounds of combat as a wizard or a sorcerer. Yeah, and like I think that bards are going to benefit from it a little bit more. Like I said, because they're going to have more proficiencies available to them just by the nature of being a bard. You get a lot more selection as far as proficiencies are considered. Whereas your wizard or your sorcerer, your options are going to be limited. So yeah, you're definitely going to hit more. You're not going to be doing a lot of damage. I mean, your average dagger is a D4. It's non-magical. You get maybe a +1 or something like that thrown in there.
Pretty good. I mean, even with your spellcasting modifier.
Also, you got spellcasting modifier, that 1d4 +1 if it's a magic or whatever, but then you're adding in radiant damage on top of that.
Oh, goodness.
Once you scale into the higher spells, it starts to get really good. It does start to really shine.
Either way, it's better than it was, and it's a really good, I don't have anything better.
Yeah. I've got nothing better to do right now.
All of the other, the rest of my kit, my other spells and everything else are ranged attacks, and if I do that, it's going to be disadvantaged because you've come up on me, but I've got this.
Yeah.
And let magic guide my blade. It's pretty neat.
Yep. So, yeah. Overall, really good buff.
Those are our 10 cantrips that they touched
cantrips,
on UA8. How do you feel overall?
Overall, this was a huge improvement for a lot of cantrips, and I've always felt that a lot of cantrips do need a little bit of work, because there's a lot of times when I'm looking at new characters and you're looking at some of these cantrips, and it's not uncommon to look at a cantrip and just be like, wow, that's useless. Like, that is pointless. And you're like, well, it kind of has to be. It's a cantrip. It doesn't cost me anything.
That's what's weird about you. You're really filling out this balance where you want the answer to almost always be a spell, unless you can't use a spell slot because you're out of it, or the circumstance doesn't allow for it, or you're saving them. Then the cantrips are the backups.
Yeah.
So like you don't want them to be too strong.
You don't want to be too strong, but then you have to strike that balance because it like early levels when you only have like so few spell slots.
Yeah.
It hurts like when you have to use that spell slot because you're crawling into a dungeon and you're like, ooh, I've got 2 spell slots and we all have like 5 hit points. I need a cure wounds or a healing word on tap. Like if I don't save these spell slots, one of us could die permanently in game 1, like the very first session.
Definitely happens.
So you feel like you have to save those spell slots. So you're looking at cantrips, and then you're looking at these cantrips, and you feel useless as a caster because the cantrips are functionally not good.
Yeah.
And it feels bad when you're playing it, right? Whereas you look at something like a Warlock, Eldritch Blast feels great.
Oh, it's good, literally good the whole game.
Feels great. And you're just out there and you're all like, and then I start blasting, and you're shooting Eldritch Blasts everywhere, and it feels great. And then you look at something like a sorcerer or, you know, a wizard, and you're all like, firebolt, you know, and it's just the same thing over and over again, and it doesn't hit, or, you know, it's a spell that calls for a save instead of an attack roll, and they keep saving, and because their save's relatively high, and it felt bad. So generally speaking, I think cantrips do need to look at, and I like a lot of the stuff that's in here. I do like a lot of the stuff that's in here. I have very few complaints here.
Right. My only like, man, they really hurt that spell. I don't know what they'll do with Shock and Grasp. I don't know if they can change it. I think it just is how it is now. I think it's just worse, and we're lucky that it's even in the game.
That it's still there, in some form,
And maybe they could do something to where if they're within, oh gosh, we just go back to the acid splash, how that was before. But if it's within like another enemy within 5 feet of it, it could if it hits the first one, it could chain.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be neat. And then both of them wouldn't get opportunity attacks or something for the next round.
Sure.
I mean, something, right? Because that would be really cool. Not necessarily broken though, but it'd be neat. Yeah, I don't know. That might be too far out there. Acid splash and poison, that they just need to flip that. And outside of that, I think I'm okay with everything else.
Yeah, like I said, generally speaking, everything seemed really good. My only complaint through the entire thing was Spare the Dying.
Oh, I thought you were going to say True Strike being too strong.
No, Spare the Dying was the only one that really upset me, which is so weird because it's such a, like, it's a straight up buff and there's no reason to hate it other than thematics. And
but thematics matter so much in this game.
And in my mind eye, I don't like it.
Because neither of us, and we understand many, many people do play it for the techie, grindy, meat harvest, slaughterfest that this game can be. We play this game for the thematics.
Yeah, for a entirely different reason, So our opinions are going to vary greatly based just upon that alone.
Yeah, so when you take away our thematics and give
hurts.
us a buff, we don't want
your buff. I want my theme.
Yeah. So if you're going to make it stronger in a way that works with my story.
Yeah. But speaking of thematics too, what is that ending on True Strike? That was really nice. I'm glad they planned this UA out for us.
Did you say this is the end of True Strike?
To end with True Strike as the spell.
Right.
The last one we talked about.
So we're ending True Strike.
No, we're ending the discussion with
True Strike. But
we're going to have to rename the podcast.
I've been Tyler.
And I've been Richard.
And we've been True Strike.
That's our point.
Bye. Hey, adventurers. Thanks again for joining us today. Please be sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. If there's any questions you'd like to write into the show, you can hit us up on Threads or Instagram. New episodes release every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for listening to True Strike.